Hello, everybody. Welcome to week 6. Can't believe it, week 6 already of our distance learning, our amazing, fun, awesome distance learning together. You only have 4 more weeks to go. That's amazing. Summer breaks right around the corner. If we all just stick with it for 4 more weeks and work really hard, then we've completed 6th grade, me included. So that's awesome. I mean, technically I'll be teaching 6th grade again next year, so I guess you could say I haven't completed it, but I've completed my first year of teaching. Let's just say that. Okay, anyway. So today is Monday, May 18th, 2020, and let's get into what we're going to be doing this week. All right, I'll walk you through the assignments, and here we go. Okay, so as per usual, we're going to start on the classwork tab and move our way down to schedules. Here is week 6 of our learning grid, where we can click on that and take a look at our learning grid for week 6. Here it is. Now, the first thing I want you to notice and really pay attention to is, guess what? Number 1 is required now. And why is that? Because everybody's going to be studying the Mayans for the rest of our school year. So now number 1 is required, number 4 is required, and we've switched number 3 to being 10 points. That way you will always be doing 4 assignments. They'll each be worth 10 points. Alrighty, so keep that in mind that number 1, important, required, number 4 is still required. Okay, we're back in Google Classroom. Under the classwork tab, we've scrolled down to week 6 social studies. First thing I want you to notice is, again, number 1 on the learning grid will now be required every week because we are studying the Maya, and all of us are going to study this. The next thing to note is that right here are your instructions for the week. Right here, there's no separate document that has any instructions, so this is what you need to read thoroughly in this part. Now, we've spent the last few weeks learning about South America, and we will continue to learn about Chile, which is located in South America, as we listen to The Dreamer, because as a reminder, The Dreamer takes place in Chile. But we are also going to head back into North America to Central America to study the ancient Mayans. Now, like I've said, please note for the rest of the school year, you will be studying Mayan history and culture, and along with number 4, number 1 on the learning grid will always be required. All right, I think I've said that a lot. Number 1, required. Anyway, this week will be an introduction to Central America, Mesoamerica, and the Maya, followed by a Kahoot to test your knowledge. We all love Kahoots. So number 1, to first familiarize yourself with the countries that make up Central America, you're going to take a look at the map of Central America attached below. The 8 countries that make up Central America are technically part of North America. So keep that in mind. They're part of the continent of North America, but it's kind of nicknamed or referred to as Central America. So let's take a look at our map. We scroll down here and we pull that map up. And if you need to zoom in a little bit, which I'm going to for you. So Central America makes up Mexico, Guatemala, Belize, Honduras, El Salvador, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, and Panama. So, important to know. Next, you're going to be clicking on the YouTube video here. It's kind of cheesy, but it's kind of fun. I thought it was entertaining. So you can click on that and watch that. It helps you, again, kind of study and familiarize yourself with the countries that make up Central America. And the reason that you're going to want to familiarize yourself with Central America is because Mesoamerica, ancient Mesoamerica, was located in Central America. It's time to begin studying the Maya. But you need to know what Mesoamerica is in okay, so where it's located, in order to familiarize yourself with the locations the Maya inhabited. So you're going to want to read or listen to Chapter 9. These are the 2 required sections you need to read, of course, in your online textbook. Highlight and or take notes as needed. And if you need reminders of how to highlight or take notes, please refer to the information section that has my walkthrough video of accessing and using the online textbook. From there, okay, take notes, highlight. You're going to play the Kahoot on Mesoamerica. You're going to take a screenshot, and I should say on Mesoamerica, Central America, and the introduction to the Maya. It's going to be on all 3. So take a screenshot after completing the Kahoot and upload it onto Google Classroom. Attached, okay, just to make sure you understand, attached here, I have put the links for this one right here is how to take a screenshot with your Chromebook. And there's a couple, these 2 are both videos and walkthroughs on how to upload and turn things into Google Classroom, because I'm noticing some students are still having issues with those things. So take a look at these if you need a reminder. Alrighty. And if you don't, then you just go ahead and play the Kahoot. It's right here. Make sure you take a screenshot when you're done and turn it into this assignment. Here we are at number 2 on our learning grid, which is studying Easter Island and the hieroglyphics in Chile. Super cool place. I really hope I can visit it someday. It's really kind of mysterious and cool. So what you will be doing this week is you'll be watching the video below here. From there, follow the directions on the document titled, right here, Week 6 Hieroglyphics Assignment. So right there, you click on that. It's going to take you to this nice little assignment right here. You need to read the instructions carefully. You're going to make first, all right, a nameplate with your first, middle, initial, and last name written in both English and hieroglyphics. Make the letters large enough to be read from a distance. All right, so Miss Grant has created an example. There's her name, and there it is in hieroglyphics. All right, so get creative with it. Use your best handwriting, or, decorate it, whatever you want to do to make it super fun. All right, that was my phone that went off, by the way. Sorry about that. Then you're going to use both English and hieroglyphics to write a 3-sentence paragraph explaining what you think the heads of Easter Island were made for and why. Here we have an example from Miss Grant. She just did a sentence starter, so this isn't the whole paragraph, but I think the heads of Easter Island were made for, so restating the question, super duper important. And here she wrote it in English with the hieroglyphics below it. So where you're going to be writing at is there's a second document, third document, excuse me, I guess second document here. So you're going to be at least writing that paragraph on this document that you can then click turn in. Do not open a separate document and type on that and try to upload it or copy and paste it. Just write right here in the document and turn it in. Okie dokie, so now we are at the language arts section of week 6 learning grid. We've scrolled past social studies down to language arts, and we are at our weekly required number 4. You're going to be listening to 2 chapters in The Dreamer. One's called Love and one's called Passion. Remember, you're using race. Restate the question. I can't say that enough to people. I'm constantly putting that in feedback. Restate the question. Answer the question. Cite your sources, and you can cite your sources at the end, and then explain your question. So, think about the why in what you're saying. That's what we mean by explain. Okay, don't just make a statement and it kind of floats there without any explanation. Please check your caps, your capitals. I'm seeing so many people not capitalizing their I's in the word I like going to the beach, okay? Capitalize your I's. I'm seeing a lot of people who are not capitalizing names, right? Chile is capitalized. Neftali is capitalized. Names of people and places are capitalized. Please make sure you're doing that. Make sure you're rereading your work so the organization sounds right, so the wording sounds right and makes sense. Check your punctuation. I'm seeing a lot of run-on sentences, so reread your sentences. If it goes on and on and on, look for a good place to pause, put a period in there, and capitalize the next word. Right? And of course, check your spelling. Use spell check and double check for those silly little mistakes that it's like, oh, I spelled Chile right here, but then I misspelled it here. Those things that you can easily catch by reading over your work. All right? Super important. So the thing that Guillermo wants Neftali to do is, or Guillermo wants Neftali to blank. I believe Neftali should blank because, or should not blank because, right? Neftali is upset about writing the letter to Blanca for Guillermo because. So you hear how we're restating the question and cite your sources. Holy moly, cite your sources. Back at the home screen of Google Classroom again under Classwork tab. We're at week 6, number 5. The Dreamer is filled with short poems that link Neftali's feelings with nature and or literature, words, and writing. This week, you will be creating 3 short poems similar to those in the novel. Open the attached document to read the instructions, view examples of 3 poems from the novel, and write your own. So here we go. We're going to click on the assignment right here. And this is the assignment you'll be typing on, and then you'll just click turn in. All right. So you will be using, for your poems, you will be using metaphor and simile. As a reminder, a simile compares 2 different things using like or as between them. So here's my example. My daughter bounded joyfully down the forest path like a grasshopper leaping through a field from grass blade to grass blade. There's that like. I've compared my daughter to a little grasshopper leaping around. So let's talk about a metaphor, a little bit trickier, but very similar to a simile. A metaphor compares 2 different things without using like or as in between. So the example here is, the yellow flower was the sun shining its smiling face to the world. All right, so was the sun. So I'm just saying this yellow flower was the sun. There's no like there at all. Now, something else I threw in here just for a little fun is I said shining its smiling face to the world. Remember, we've talked about personification? So I just made the sun and the flower both personified by using the term smiling face. So remember, personification is where you have 2 non-human objects that you're giving human characteristics to. So I kind of threw that in for fun, and maybe that's something you'd like to do too, because in the novel, The Dreamer, there's a lot of personification as well. All right, so you need to listen to, or if you have the book, read the assigned chapters for the week. All right, check out the 3 examples of the poems from The Dreamer, and then write 3 of your own poems in similar style. So here are the poem requirements, what you're required to do. All right. Each poem must be at least 4 lines long. So it could be longer, but they need to be short poems, just like in the novel. Each poem must begin with the words, I am poetry. And you'll see why in a minute. 1 poem must contain a metaphor, and the other 2 must contain a simile. The focus of each poem must be about your feelings and nature and or literature, writing, reading, words, etc. So however you want to kind of intermingle that, you can. Title each poem, centering your title, and be creative. Give your poem some thought. Really think about it. And you can add some illustrations with them as well. There are like lots of illustrations, I should say, in the novel that unless you have a hard copy, you don't get to see. But they're really, really cool. So write your poems, like I said, on this document under the example poem. So let's take a look at this first poem example. All right, so this one right here. I am poetry, waiting to seize the poet. I ask the questions for which all answers exist. I choose no one. I choose everyone. Come closer if you dare. Here's some personification. So you'll kind of be using personification naturally, is comparing poetry to some kind of, humanistic entity waiting to seize the poet, asking questions, all right, choosing, So There's our first poem. All right, here's our next poem example. Again, starting with, I am poetry lurking in dappled shadow. I am the confusion of root and gnarled branch. I am the symmetry of insect, leaf, and bird's outstretched wings. So the first example was focused on feelings and writing and words, finding the poet. This one is about more with nature and how kind of comparing poetry or feelings in with nature. So that's the next one. Third one, here's the third one, and such beautiful illustrations. I am poetry, surrounding the dreamer, ever present. I capture the spirit, enslave the reluctant pen, and become the breath on the writer's only road. Ooh, gives me chills. I think they're so pretty. There you go. And it's centered here. So you can start with your title centered. And then remember when, so I'm just going to put title. Okay. You hit return and then you're going to come up here, right? And you're going to hit so it's on the left side. Lastly, we have number 6, independent reading. Again, same thing every week, but I really, really want to clarify something because we're still having this issue. Not only are you filling out your reading log here, and this assignment, part of this assignment is you're required to read every day. That's part of that assignment. Okay? But the second part of the assignment, which I'm not really getting for some reason, is you click on the reading response choice board right here, and here is all these different activities you can do. You choose one. I've seen a couple character trading cards, which are super cool. I had someone create a crossword puzzle before. Okie dokie. So you might be wondering why I didn't go over number 3 with you from our learning grid, and that's because we're still trying to work out a couple kinks with this virtual tour that you will be going on, and you'll be making a slideshow about it, but we're still working out some of the kinks of the virtual tour. So I'll make a separate video for that when we can get those kinks worked out and post that with the assignment. So that is my intro video and information for week 6 learning grid and all the assignments. As you can tell, it's gotten dark behind me and I'm a little in the shadows here since I started the video. You can schedule live Google Meets with me individually so we can go over stuff if you have any questions or you just need maybe that little push from someone. You're like, I really am having trouble motivating myself. You know what? I'll set something with Miss Reeves and she'll be right there. If that's just something you need to feel like you're kind of back in class a little bit, whatever's going to work with you so that you can get this stuff done. And I want you to be ready for 7th grade next year. And even if we only have 4 weeks to go, you're learning every time you do one of these assignments. You're getting better every time you read my feedback and say, oh, I can see where I need to be changing my punctuation a little bit. Or, oh yeah, I need to cite my sources. Oh, here's where I need to restate a question. All that stuff, really important for next year in your language arts social studies. Having the knowledge to know how to research things and understand things as far as civilization, geography, all that stuff goes is going to be important when you move into 7th grade. Okay, distance learning should not stop you from improving and growing and learning. So please keep that in mind when you're doing this work and that you're doing your best and you're not trying to rush through it because this is your education. So please, please, please make that a priority in your life in whatever way you can get yourself motivated to do. All right? Okay, everyone, have a wonderful week and I'll talk to you throughout the week. Bye, everyone. I love you all.